Our role in this committee is not to weigh the merits of these arguments and determine if this merger is in the public interest. Congress gave that road to the FCC, who, along with the DOJ, performs a more traditional antitrust assessment on the merger, and these two agencies will ultimately determine if the merger is going to be approved. Our role in the subcommittee is to provide policies that advance the telecommunications market, including expanding access to broadband to all Americans.
However, I've seen a lot of mergers in this industry and others, and it's hard to think of one where consolidation...
This hearing marks the first time in 8 years that the committee has met to evaluate the consequences of a merger. For too long, the House and this committee paid little attention to that responsibility, but now we resume the practice of reviewing major acquisitions so we can fulfill our obligation for the people to determine how this proposed consolidation will affect consumers, workers, public safety, and network resiliency, competition, and future innovation. For the last 8 years, major industry consolidation occurred without significant oversight, and the consequences of that have been borne by consumers and hardworking Americans.
Again, he loved this committee, he loved this House, but most of all, he loved his district, the state of Michigan.
We've seen previous merger conditions that weren't met or weren't enforced. We've seen the public interest in all its forms undermined, and that's why we must look carefully at these issues before a merger is approved. In this case, the transaction is currently being reviewed by the FCC, as well as the Department of Justice. As part of our oversight responsibility, we must make sure that the FCC is carefully reviewing the facts and keeping consumers' best interests in mind when deciding the fate of the merger. Being particularly hard on the poorest consumers. How can we be sure that consumers who can least afford to pay...
As we consider the testimony of our witnesses, we need to take a holistic view. Instead of focusing on a particular metric like those who insist the government must intervene to preserve four nationwide wireless operators at all costs. We have to consider scale and operational efficiencies in that equation and the rapidly changing characteristics of the wireless marketplace, especially the convergence of functionality with non-traditional competitors such as global and satellite operators.
Mr. Walden, that just yielded to me, who was chairman.
Verizon and AT&T have close to 70% market share, and they control 93% of the cash flow generated from the industry. As a result, it's very hard to invest and compete at the same level. Today, we're at a technological inflection point. Over the next few years, 5G is coming, a new standard of connectivity. It's going to completely change the way we connect and the way we live our lives. But Sprint doesn't have the resources to build a 5G network to provide the necessary competition against the AT&T and Verizon duopoly. We cannot take lightly that America needs to lead the world in 5G. China had made it their priority to win the 5G race. They're investing billions. When a country has the best network with the latest technology, it brings massive economic stimulus, explosive job growth, and a new wave of entrepreneurs. America is a land of innovators and disruptors. Let's keep it this way. My story validates this. Letting another country take the leadership away from the U.S. will cause irreparable damage. This is an opportunity of a lifetime.
Our opponents are wrong when they claim that the merger will lead to higher prices. In fact, the opposite is true. Consumers will win with lower prices and better services. How? Our costs will drop sharply and our network capacity will expand tremendously. I am so confident that the merger will lower prices that we're willing to put our money where our mouth is.
The Communications Workers of America, we represent 700,000 employees. And companies merge, why would they keep two neighboring stores open? Chances are they won't. Rather than the merger will mean pink slips for 30,000 wireless workers across the country. You heard the CEO of T-Mobile say that they will add jobs. Pardon my language, but that's just bull. Without binding and enforceable commitments, and I mean commitments that have no loopholes, such promises are just cheap sales and talk and are easily broken. First,
5 minutes. Please make sure your microphone's on and pull the microphone towards you.
Thank you for this opportunity to testify today to discuss the impact that the proposed T-Mobile-Sprint merger will have on rural America. RWA opposes this merger. We've heard a lot of promises from T-Mobile over the years that have not been met. So we have no reason to believe that T-Mobile will follow through on their new promises if they are allowed to reduce competition. In short, this merger is bad for competition. It's bad for consumers, especially in rural areas, who will experience fewer choices, price increases, and substandard service. It should be denied.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Walden, ranking member of the full committee, for 5 minutes for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr.